Welcome to the podcast. It's the magical holidays. Time for Joe watching 60 Christmas movies in 60 days. Why, you might ask? Because it sounds like a crazy task to be watching 60 Christmas movies in 60 days. It'll be struggle, no I won't lie. By the halfway point I will lose my mind, but with your support I'm gonna be fine. So let's have a blast on this Christmas time. Join me now and let's find out about today's Christmas movie. Was it good or bad? Happy or sad? Is there another dead mom and dad? Let's get to it with no delay. It's your old pal Joe and he's happy to say welcome to Joe watches 60 Christmas movies in 60 days.
How's it going, everybody? It's me, it's your old pal Joe, and welcome my friends, to the first episode of Season 4 of Joe Watches 60 Christmas Movies in 60 Days. I can't believe we're actually here, but we are. We actually made it to Season 4. I did not think that this would be doable. If you listen to the two little prologue, prequel episodes that I released over the last few weeks, I explained in the first one the challenges that we are facing in order to make a new one. Mostly, I don't currently have a job. I don't currently have any form of income. And because of that, I don't really have the funds necessary to pay for the hosting needed for a daily podcast. It's not often that someone release a 45-minute plus, we know it's a plus, 45-minute plus podcast every single day for 2 months. And so you got to pay a good amount of money in order to get that to work. And I just don't have it. But I found a way to make it work, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Before we do, one last bit of housekeeping that we want to talk about. As I mentioned, this is Season 4, and looking back upon the first 3 seasons, and we can even say last year's aborted Season 4, I haven't been entirely successful. The first year, I didn't finish in time. The second year, I believe I watched all the movies in time, but didn't finish the podcast in time. And the third year was a travesty. Granted, there were reasons why there was a travesty. Things came up, but still, I didn't finish in time. So maybe this year, I will actually meet the title of the episode and watch 60 Christmas movies within 60 days and even get the podcast out on time. That would make me very happy. Whether I can do it or not, I don't know. If things get in the way, just know that we'll still be here. We'll still be talking about Christmas movies all the way up until Christmas. And if I'm late, maybe a couple days afterward. Now, as I mentioned, Season 4, due to funds, was unlikely. But this is something I cannot believe is true. And it makes me very happy to know it is. Inexplicably and unexpectedly, my friends, we have a sponsor for the podcast. We have a sponsor for the podcast. I don't know how this worked out, but it did. And so let's talk about the sponsor of Season 4 of Joe Watches 60 Christmas Movies in 60 Days. It's our friends at Third Eye Comics. Third Eye Comics is a chain of comic book and other stores throughout the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. My personal Third Eye Comic store is their location in College Park, Maryland. But they have, I believe it's 8 or 9 stores throughout the area, with 3 of them in Annapolis. The Annapolis location of the comic store is the, I believe, largest comic store in the nation. But in addition to the comic store in Annapolis, next door to that, they have a gaming store where you can get all the gaming equipment that you need, whether it's board games, other types of tabletop games, role-playing games. They have anything you could want in that world. Additionally, they have a recent addition to the number of stores that they have available, and this is a store focused on music and video. It's Third Eye Music and Video, where you can get your music needs met, whether it be vinyl or, I think in even some cases, cassettes. They also have a large library of physical movies that you can purchase, whether it be on Blu-ray or 4K or even just standard DVD. The whole consortium of Third Eye stores are our sponsor for Season 4 of Joe Watches 60 Christmas Movies in 60 Days, and I will talk about them at least a little bit in every single episode, so just bear with me. In addition to bearing with me, here's what I need to ask of you. I need you to purchase something from them. Not because, it's going to make a difference in their bottom line, but I just want them to know that they haven't invested their hard-earned money unwisely. I just want to let them know that by supporting the show, I can turn around and in some way support them. So if you have any comic book needs, if you have any movie or music needs, or it's definitely if you have any gaming needs, you can visit them online at thirdeyecomics.com. You can even visit them to purchase things online at shop.thirdeyecomics.com. Or if you're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, you can visit one of the stores that's near you. And that would be a huge benefit. Just say Joe sent you from the Ridiculous Podcast where he watches too many Christmas movies. You can shorten it as you see fit. And just let them know that you're there because of me. Even if you already go there, just let them know that you're there because of me. That would be really cool. And so that's today's sponsor area done. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see if I'm any better at it. And now that we're about 5 minutes or so into the podcast, I guess it is time to talk about our first movie of season 4, Cool Ranch Christmas, or as it actually is called, Holidays at the Ranch. It should be called Cool Ranch Christmas. It's not called Cool Ranch Christmas. It is called Holidays at the Ranch. And this is another in a long line of movies that I suspect isn't even a Christmas movie. And they just put a little Christmassy on the edges to get someone like me, some sucker like me, like your old pal Joe, to watch because they think, oh, anybody will watch a Christmas movie. Let's make it sort of Christmassy. This is one of those movies. I'm not happy about it. I did not like this movie. I don't hate it. Nobody in this movie is completely unlikable. There's no terrible performances. I just did not like this movie. We got to talk about it. Holidays at the Ranch. Let's start the show. We open with a woman, who is our main character, Kate, looking through a notebook, explaining to her mom, who she's talking to on the phone, that she simply can't make it home in time for the holidays. And it's not even just that she can't make it due to work scheduling. It's also that it takes a long time to get there. So between not being able to get time off of work and the 5+ hours it takes to drive there, she can't make it. Her mom protests. It's only 5 hours. Kate protests her mom back. Wait, do you know how much work I could get done in that time? Plus, work has been so hard, and Kate's been achieving so much. Her mom understands that, but still. Kate eventually tells her mom that she needs to put her on hold to get her shoes. And she does. We watch her put her mom on hold, walk, go get her shoes, come back, put her shoes on, and then return to the phone call with her mom. Why is that in this movie? Like, what does that show us? I guess in theory it shows us that she values preparing for work over talking to her mom, but I don't know that that's true. It's just weird. I think that this movie, again, I don't think okay, how do I explain this? I don't think this is a real movie. I think it exists as a movie, but I think it's not a real movie. I think it was just an idea for a movie that someone had and they couldn't make it work, so they just added a whole bunch of stuff to make it long enough. This movie is 1 hour and 33 minutes long. 37 minutes of this movie's time is 2 scenes. Now, I don't mean like, we'll get to it. I just don't think this is a real movie. And that's why there's scenes like Kate putting her mom on hold to go get shoes and us watching her do that. When she gets back, she takes a few deep breaths and then, again, returns to the call with her mom. Her mom, though, doesn't skip a beat. Kate, have you eaten? And Kate says, you know I run on coffee. We then join Kate on her way to the office. She's still talking to her mom. She asks her mom about thinking about moving to the city. It would just be easier. We'd get to see each other more often. We'd be closer. Her mom says no. That the ranch that she lives at, it's where she was. That's where she belongs. It's where both Kate's mom and dad raised Kate. It's where they've lived. Well, one of them has lived to this day. This is when we find out that Kate's dad has passed away since the last Christmas. And Kate's mom is just on her own, maintaining the ranch to the best of her ability and living her life. Among this conversation, we get some of the backstory about the dad passing away and how it's been hard on both of them in different ways since the passing. Her mom just brings up the idea of Kate visiting again and says, maybe you could come by and help me put up Christmas decorations. This seems unfair since they've already covered this topic. Kate says the same and then says, you know what, I got to go. I'm at the office. I got to get to work. In the office, and what an office this is, there are 2 desks facing each other and then just a lot of blank space. A lot of empty space. At one desk is our main character, Kate, and our other desk is her co-worker, who I believe goes unnamed throughout her entire time in this movie, which isn't long, but it's longer than you'd think. We never learn her name. I don't think so. And the other thing about this office, before I can even get into what's happening here, is the fact that on the wall behind Kate is an American flag hanging on the wall. That, in and of itself, is not noteworthy. But it's the fact that this American flag is creased from end to end. This looks like it was just unfolded, and it was originally the size of somebody's wallet, and they've now unfolded it to fill the entire wall. There are so many creases and wrinkles in this thing. It looks terrible. Please, somebody, take the time to iron the American flag before you put it on the wall. Not out of some patriotic sense of duty, just for the fact that it looks like garbage on the wall. Additionally, why is there a giant American flag hanging behind Kate on the wall of her office? That doesn't make any sense. Here's why I think it's there. I think it's there because this movie wants us to think it's an American movie, but it's not. This doesn't make any sense otherwise. This can't be an American movie. Where does it take place? Where was it filmed? I couldn't tell you. There's no information. You look this movie up on imdb.com, and there is nothing. There's only 3 actors listed, despite the fact that there are more than 3 actors in this movie. There's not a ton more. There's only 3 actors listed altogether. The credits, I watched all the credits. They never list where this movie was filmed. There are, no joke, 4 different accents in this movie. There's Kate's accent. There's her co-worker, her accent, which is, I couldn't nail it if you gave me a hammer and a nail. I have no idea what her accent is. Then there's her mom's accent, which is much more slight than the co-worker, but still there. It's still something under the surface, indicating that she is not from a traditional North American state, whether it's north or the south, east or the west. Then there's the love interest accent, where he puts on a southern drawl, southern-ish drawl, but some of the words he says just come out in mysterious ways, just ways I could never have predicted. So I don't really know where this movie... Oh, the other thing, and I'll mention this probably in my notes. The other thing is the steering wheel's on the opposite side of the car. The steering wheel's on the opposite side of the car. They have 4 accents in this movie, and there's an American flag hanging behind Kate's desk. What's going on? Where is this movie taking place? What are they trying to sell me? Am I being indoctrinated into a new civilization that I don't know anything about yet? Okay, we got to move on. We got a lot of movie to talk about. This movie, I know I said the running time was 1:33. It might actually be 5 hours long. As I mentioned, Kate's coworker is not named, and so I looked up the movie on IMDb, and I was saddened to see that there's only 3 actors named, because I use that a lot for the character names, because when I'm trying to recite what happens in the movie, it's helpful to know the characters' names, and sometimes they're not mentioned until much later in the film. Nope, just 3 actors, Kate, her mom, love interest. We see that Kate's working away, typing away, and her co-worker, who's I guess a friend, is kind of concerned about the fact that Kate's not going to go home for Christmas, and she starts giving her a hard time about it. When Kate says, no, it's fine, my mom understands. My mom understands how important work is to me. She understands how much work I have to do. Specifically on the Rosebud project that she's currently assigned to. Okay. I wanted to I made a note of this in my notes. Let's take a listen to the co-worker's voice, and maybe you can help me place it. Because if we can place one accent, maybe the others will fall into place.
I don't know. I like being at home with my family for Christmas. It always feels so special. Besides, you never know what's going to happen in life.
While we get some dialogue between Kate and her co-worker, this is when we officially learn about the dad's passing since Christmas of last year. This is when I write in my notes that it seems pretty cold, pretty cruel, for Kate to not go home for Christmas, the very first Christmas after her dad has passed away. You'd think you'd make some time. You'd think you might go, hey, bosses, I know they have this big project, but is there any way I could take a solid 48 hours, 24 before and 24 after Christmas, and, go home to my mom? It is the first Christmas that she will have without her longtime partner, the man that raised me. Maybe I could just take some time for me that day. Nope, she didn't do that. In fact, she wants to avoid it as much as possible. Eventually, Kate doesn't want to talk about this anymore, so she asks her coworker out for lunch. We cut to them in a park. walking and talking about, we joined the scene with them in mid-conversation, and it sounds like they're just making up stuff to talk about because they know that they have to have some audio to join the scene. Eventually they sit at a bench, and what you know, the conversation returns to Kate not wanting to go home for Christmas. The woman says, you never know, you might not have a next time for your mom, you should go while you still can, and this is what finally convinces her to reconsider this idea. The woman won't let it go, though. She goes, and if you go back, you never know, Santa might bring you a handsome man down the chimney. Some weird turn of phrase that indicates that she might get a boyfriend if she goes home. Kate is appalled at the idea of a boyfriend. She's far too busy for any men in her life right now. That's the last thing she's worried about. She's worried about the Rosebud Project. She's not worried about men. Kate says if she does go home, all she's going to do is stay in, eat cheese, and drink wine. For the third time, the coworker brings up Santa bringing her something. I don't know what her friend's obsession with this is. I can only assume, given all of the vagaries around how this movie was made, where it was filmed, who these people are, and the fact that it's not a Christmas movie, and in fact it may not be a real movie at all, I can only assume this is the movie shoehorning in Christmas references so that we feel better about this being a Christmas movie. Eventually they make their way back to the office, and this is when Kate calls her mom to break the good news that she'd like to come home, but she does draw a line at a few things. She has very specific rules about what she wants to do. She wants to stay in. She doesn't want to see anyone else, and she doesn't want to go into town. Her mom agrees, even though she's a little bit confused as to why these rules exist. It's because she just wants to avoid people. We'll find out that more in earnest later on. Her mom then says, what about your old friends? Kate says, I don't have any old friends. They don't have any friends anymore. I haven't kept in contact since I moved to the city. This is another thing the movie likes to do. She moved to the city. She didn't go back home on the ranch. She moved to the city. She lives in the city. She has that city life. She wears city clothes. She lives in the city. We cut to Kate arriving at her mom's place. She complains about how long the drive is. This is what I noticed. The steering wheel is on the opposite side of the car from what I would expect. Her mom notices that Kate only brought one relatively small wheelie luggage bag. And she's like, I'm only in town for a few days. And her mom says, well, in case you do need any clothes, you could always wear some of your old stuff. And Kate is aghast at that suggestion. She will not wear any of her old stuff. She is a new Kate. She's not going to do that. Inside, Kate's mom offers to make her some coffee. Her mom asks if she still has cream in her coffee. And Kate goes, I haven't had cream in my coffee since I was 20. I don't know how old this woman is. I would suspect she's not even 30. It's not been that long. You also haven't lived at home. How would she know how you've had your coffee? And then her mom asks if she wants sugar, and she's like, I've never had sugar in my coffee. And she says something like, she doesn't say this, but the feeling is like, you don't even know who I am. And it's like, yeah, she doesn't. That's a problem. Also, she makes it clear she only drinks her coffee black. Kate is being an official jerk at this point. Kate looks at old photos that are scattered around the living room. It's like a ranch house. It's almost cabin-like, but it's definitely a house. When she gets to her room, Kate notices old books and knickknacks scattered around. She collects them all and puts them away to make room for her work materials, like her laptop and whatever other things she has. Back downstairs, Kate and her mom drink wine. I have no idea how much time has passed. Her mom suggests that they go out to get the tree the next day. Kate is down for that, but verifies that she gets at the tree at the same place, right? And Kate's mom says, sure do. Bob's pumpkins, trees, and pies. Kate is satisfied with this information and heads to bed. The next morning, her mom wakes her up early with a cup of coffee. Kate acts like she's never up that early. What are you doing? Why are you? She's squinting through the daylight. Why are you waking me up so early? And it's like, Kate, you live in the city. We know this. City life, city woman. You have a packed schedule every day. You don't wake up early for work? That seems counterproductive. That seems like this is nonsense that the movie's forcing in here, even though it doesn't make any sense. Kate's mom, being in her room, notices that she's put away some of those photos and things and tells Kate that you should keep them up to remind you that you weren't always a city girl. Kate doesn't see it that way. She agrees to leave the photos up, but because it gives her a chance to see how far she's come. Her mom doesn't really like that perspective on things. Just before they start heading out, Kate's mom mentions that there's a challenge with the tree farm. They've moved the tree farm since Kate was last there. And then the thing is that doesn't really bother me. Like, okay, so they moved the tree farm. What's the big deal, Mom? But then her mom says, if I take the bus to get the tree, it's going to be kind of hard. It's going to be like a long route to go there on the bus. That doesn't make any sense to me. Does she not have a vehicle to drive? How did you get the trees in the past years? Was it only the dad that drove? Regardless, Kate says, okay, well, did you want me to drive us to the tree farm? And her mom says, actually, the thing is, I can't even go to the tree farm. I have to stay home because I have to meet with my choir. We're practicing for the upcoming Christmas choir recital on the 26th. That comes up again later. And so I actually can't go at all. Kate throws a tantrum. And then her mom unloads some more stuff. Like, well, actually, also, while you're in town, can you go to the store? We need a few things. And actually, even though you're going to the store, they don't have everything that I need. For example, I need some onion chutney, and they only sell that at this specific place that's not in a store, not in a grocery store per se. Again, Kate throws this tantrum, but she'll do it. It's time to get dressed. Kate immediately acts like she needs clothes from her whole closet, not wearing anything that she brought with her. What was the point of that whole exchange earlier, where she said she had enough clothes in her bag? In her closet, she notices a little box. She starts to fiddle with it, but then throws it under her bed and starts trying on clothes. We get a little montage of her trying on clothes. She settles on a big black coat and scarf with dark sunglasses that all but cover her entire head. You get it. She wants to be incognito. Downstairs, Kate's mom is confused by the need to be disguised, but moves past it to give Kate the breakfast she prepared for her. Kate said she was willing to eat breakfast, but she'll just take some oatmeal. She doesn't want a lot of breakfast. So her mom made breakfast for her per Kate's request. Yes, she was pushed to request it, but she acquiesced and she requested oatmeal. What happens here? Kate says she doesn't have time for breakfast. She's going to go ahead and head on out to beat the rush, to beat the crowds, what have you. And so she just doesn't eat the breakfast that she had her mom make for her. Instead, she just needs some coffee. Black coffee, obviously, because she's a city girl living a city life. I really don't like Kate. We cut to Kate downtown. She's in the midst of her shopping. She has her list in her hand. She's also holding her list up over her face so that no one can see her face, despite the dark sunglasses, scarf covering half of her face, and, of course, the giant black coat. Because she's obscured her own vision, she bumps into a woman, and the woman is an old friend who never introduces herself. Instead, here's how the interaction goes. They bump into each other, and the woman says, "Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry about that." And then Kate turns around, "Oh, that's okay, no problem." And the woman goes, "Wait, Kate? Kate, is that you?" And Kate says, yeah, it's me. And the woman says, "Oh, I thought that might be you. Wow, it's so amazing to see you after all this time." At no point does she go, "Kate, it's me, Dorothy, or Clementine, or Todd the Second." At no point does this woman introduce herself. And you would have to work really hard when you're making a movie to choose not to have her introduce herself, because it makes sense when she's trying to, jog Kate's memory. "Oh, wait, Kate, is that you? Because it's me." You have to choose not to include that, and you have to choose not to include it because you don't want the viewer to know who this is either. Why would you do that? Why not just give this woman a name? We don't get a name for her until the next scene when she's referred to in the past tense. She says that she and Noah, we get his name, she and Noah got engaged, and she's also expecting. "Kate, what have you been up to?" Kate talks about how she's in advertising still. She's hoping to get a promotion soon. The woman asks about her old boyfriend. "What about your old boyfriend, Matt?" Kate gets really determined, or not determined, like strident. No, I haven't talked to Matt. No, I haven't talked to him in years. Her unnamed friend is sure there has to be someone in her life. "Well, you don't have him, but do you have any other boyfriends?" "No, I don't have anybody. I don't have time for a man." Her friend treats us like this is the craziest thing she's ever heard. She tries to make plans with Kate later. Kate says, "Well, I don't know. I'm with my mom. I'm here with my mom in town. I haven't seen her in a long time. I'll have to see what if there's any room to meet anybody else." Now we're at the tree farm. Kate drags a tree that's far too heavy for her frame because she's a tiny person, and this tree is bigger than her. While she's dragging the tree, she bumps into somebody, which is, I guess, her form of normal contact since she did it with her old friend. She bumps into somebody, the person's like, "Oh, excuse me, sorry about that." And wouldn't you know it, oh my gosh, it's her old boyfriend, Matt. He works there at this store. He doesn't work there all the time, but he does work there on Sundays, we find out, which is the same day that her mom sent her to go there. Maybe it was a setup? Maybe it was a setup. In fact, she even brings it up She goes, does my mom know that you work here on this specific day? And she does. He does. Oh, no, in this case, it is a she. It's her mom. No, his mom. What is happening to me? It's the first episode. I am falling apart. So she's surprised to see Matt there. We find out that he does work there one day a week. It's where the onion chutney is. It's where some chestnuts that she has to get. It's where those are as well. Matt asked Kate if she was hiding from him. She goes, no. I was just adjusting my scarf. I wasn't trying to hide my face from you. Taking in her scarf, her glasses, and her big jacket, he says, you look different. I always preferred you in cowboy boots, which is a very strange thing to say to somebody you haven't seen in years. Whatever you're wearing, bullshit. You know what I preferred you in? Something you're not wearing. What the fuck does your opinion matter, man? You don't know City Girl Kate. You don't know this person at all. Why would you start with an insult? We find out that she stopped replying to his messages when she left town. She chalks this up to her being busy, city life, work. She's up for a promotion. You know the deal. In fact, she didn't even think she'd make it back to visit her mom for Christmas because of her work, but her mom needs her, so she made it a point. He says he understands. We find out that he's well aware of the travails of their family and has been trying to check in on Kate's mom. He says it's nice seeing Kate. She says, oh, the same. But he calls her out. Is it really nice to see me? What's with your disguise? It almost seems like you're trying to be hidden. And she goes, oh, no. Yes, we're covering this for some reason. She goes, oh, no, this is just what I wear now. It's stylish in the city, because she's a city girl with a city life. He offers, I thought the conversation would be over at this point. It is not, because they already said the thing about it was nice to see each other. He offers some updates of his own. His mom retired. He runs the ranch now. Brandon, his brother, moved out with Jessica, his girlfriend, I guess. Kate asks if Matt enjoys the ranch work. He says there's nothing better. At this point, they even give kids riding lessons to be riding on horses. They have horses at the ranch, and I guess this is a new thing that he's introduced since he took over the ranch. Kids can pay, or probably their parents can pay, to teach their kids how to ride horses. Thinking about riding horses, he asks if she still rides. She says it's been years. She doesn't remember how to do it at all. He offers to teach her, but she can't. She's busy. He asks her to come out later for a drink. She can't. She's busy. In fact, she's busy tonight because she's going to meet up with her old friend Hannah, the unnamed friend from the other scene. He asks for Kate's number so they can maybe meet up before she leaves town. Kate says it's the same number as before, which is such an awkward answer. And he goes, oh, is it? Because I assumed you changed it since you stopped replying to my messages. And this is just another awkward exchange where these two people who are supposed to be cordial keep saying, or he keeps saying to her, very venomous things. And you're like, at what point does this just become an actual argument? Because I don't think a normal person would take all of these barbs and just keep going and being nice. Eventually, she drags her giant tree away. Later that night, Kate and her mom finish decorating the tree and doing all the decorations in general. Kate mentions that she was set up to see Matt at the market. I guess she just waited 6-7 hours to bring up the whole Matt thing. Did you set me up to go? Her mom admits that she might have done that just because she thought it was be nice to see somebody. Kate says it was awkward. Her mom says, oh, I'm sure it wasn't. And I'm like, Mom, I can verify it was awkward. We find out that Matt stops by to check on Kate's mom often, which is nice of him. It's now dinner time. They're having spaghetti. We find out the spaghetti is delicious. And Kate's mom says that the secret ingredient is she adds cilantro to the sauce. And Kate's like, oh, wow, really? Kate's mom asks if Kate might be seeing Matt again before she leaves. Kate says she's not sure. It turns out it was nice to see him. It felt like nothing had changed, but everything has changed. Kate's a different person now, and they want different things. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know what Matt wants? You've barely talked to him. You have no idea what he wants in his life. Instead, Kate just wants to focus on work. Her mom implores her to at least have a cup of coffee with him. It's just a one-off. It's not a commitment. Kate says, yeah, but you know what? I've really enjoyed spending time at home with you. I've enjoyed it even more than I thought, so I don't want to miss any of that. And then she asks if her and her mom could visit her dad's grave on Christmas. In this scene where she says, could we visit Dad's grave on Christmas? Maybe take him some flowers. Her mom gets a little choked up. I get a little choked up because of the earnestness in this scene, and I guess it was more the thinking of visiting a loved one that had passed away since since last saw them, which I guess everybody passes away since you last see them. But you get what I'm saying, like the thought of that got me choked up. And I got mad at this movie for having this one scene that somehow connected with me. Her mom is taken aback and a little emotional, but says that would be wonderful to visit the grave on Christmas. Her mom asks Kate if she'll be around on Boxing Day because there's the choir concert that she's going to be taking part in. And Kate thinks, you know what? I think I can stick around for that. I'd like that. But then I have to go back. I still have my big Rosebud project. Her mom asks her if she at least has any plans for New Year, since all she seems to talk about is her work. And Kate's like, I don't know if I have time for any New Year's plans. I may miss out on things like hanging out with friends, but I expect big things next year. And they toast on this big hope for the following year. Upstairs in her room, Kate notices the box she threw under the bed. She retrieves it and starts to open it. It seems like it's hard to open for some reason, and this is when we see that it's actually a little tiny little padlock on the box. She starts digging through her drawers, looking for the key. Her mom walks in and asks what the ruckus is. Kate explains that she can't find the key to this old box. She calls it her memory box. Her mom hands her a cup of cocoa that she made for her and heads off into the other room. She immediately returns and has the key in hand. She says when Kate moved out, I guess in a bit of a huff, she discarded the box. She threw away the box, and she also threw away the key, and her mom thought that she would want them later on, so she rescued them from the trash. And that's why the key still exists. So when her mom explains why she still has the key, she gives her the speech about how she knows it's hard for Kate to be back in town. And you don't even have to explain it to me, her mom says. She just wants Kate to know that her mom was always going to be there for Kate, and that she always enjoys spending time with her daughter. Sometimes, though, it doesn't feel like Kate wants to spend time with her. Kate starts to cry and says it has nothing to do with her mom. It's just this town. Her mom says she understands, but I don't know if her mom really does. So she gives Kate the key and explains the story behind how she came to have the key. Kate gets emotional hearing the story. Her mom gives her a peck on the cheek and then leaves her to dig through her old memories. We watch Kate sniffle as she digs through the contents of a box. There's a few notes, a ceramic cat. There's a photo of a black horse on the back. There's a message. Midnight is going to miss you, but not as much as I will. Signed, Matt, her old boyfriend, who may not have been her boyfriend. They act like they are boyfriend and girlfriend, but there's also a bit where, towards the end, where it's like, I never knew how to explain how I felt about you. So then, were we just pals? And is this like a really weird way to write that? Like you're falling in love with your best friend and you want it to be something more. And so you write a note on the back of a picture of a horse that she liked and said, well, Midnight's going to miss you, but not as much as I am. There's also a folded up paper inside filled with lots of words that I did not get a chance to write any of them down. We find out that this is a note from Matt explaining that he doesn't want her to leave, that it breaks his heart for her to leave, that she's his best friend, she's his soulmate. And he says he knows that they're young, but what they have is real. It's not some high school romance, but he knows that going to the city is what she wants, and he wants her to be happy. But he'll always be waiting for her. Love, Matt. She crumbles up the note in her hand, almost involuntarily, just crunch, 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 and starts crying, like really hard crying. Lots of sniffly crying. She picks up her phone and she texts Matt. Turns out she says she's free the next day. He replies almost immediately. Sounds great. He'll see her tomorrow. Kate smiles. The next morning, Kate tosses and turns herself awake. It's the early morning hour, and she is not greeted by her mom this day. But then she hears a voice. She heads downstairs, and wouldn't you know it, Matt is in her house chatting with her mom. She says, "What are you doing here?" And Matt says, "Oh, you're up finally." Kate says, No, what are you doing here?" Her mom tells her to be polite, so Kate repeats it, but then adds please at the end. Like, please let me know. We find out that Mom texted him to bring over some more onion chutney. Apparently she needed even more of it, but that's not true. We know that in reality she just wanted to bring Matt over to kind of push him and her daughter back together. Kate says, "Okay, but why is he here so early?" Her mom says, "It's not even that early. Plus, Matt's going to join us for breakfast." Mom says, "I hear you guys are going to the ranch later." Kate says, "Well, I didn't know we were going to the ranch later. I just know I had made general plans with him, but we didn't talk about anything specific." Kate is really annoyed at this whole situation. Her mom tries to diffuse things by saying Matt is always welcome in the house. In fact, he visits her more often than Kate does, which is a very mean thing to say when you know that everybody already understands that's true. Matt plays along with it for some reason. "Wait, that can't be true. There's no way I visit you more than your daughter does." "Oh, no, it is true. It is true. You visit me way more than my daughter does." And it just seems like really passive-aggressive. Kate decides to go upstairs to get dressed so that she can have breakfast and so that they can also head off on their day of adventure, presumably at the ranch. When she gets upstairs, she looks in the mirror and sees herself, and look, she looks fine, but I get it. She feels like she doesn't look fine. She feels like something's wrong. Like she's, messy or not prettied up, whatever you wanted. And she says to herself, the first time he sees me properly in years, and I look like this? We cut to her arriving downstairs wearing the finest business wear and all dolled up. And Matt is a little confused. Her mom says, what are you wearing? And Kate says, my clothes. Matt asks, are you sure about that? Because it's not going to work well on the ranch. Kate dismisses this, even though it makes perfect sense that something like, in this case, high heels may not work on a ranch. Kate says, this is what I wear now in the city. Her mom pushes back and says, wait, don't you think there's anything more appropriate in your closet? Kate gives in, and she goes upstairs, and she gets clothes out of her closet, which is supposed to be like this big acceptance of who she was, except she did the same thing the day before with the scarf and she had the dressing montage that I mentioned. So she was trying on things the day before, so it doesn't really mean anything that she's giving in and willing to put on some old clothes. And she returns wearing just some clothes. Her mom says, oh, you look like your old self. Kate replies, that's what I'm afraid of. Kate no longer wants to have breakfast, so they depart, which is very rude, and the second day in a row that Kate has participated in breakfast and then left before eating anything. We join Matt and Kate at the ranch. It apparently looks mostly the same, and Matt adds, I guess it's mostly just us that changed. Kate meekly adds, or me. He asks what she'd like to do. She doesn't have any ideas. He says, well, I have errands I want to run. And she says, but then I'm happy to help you. It's basically errands around the ranch. Matt doesn't think she's up for it, though, because she's out of practice, and because, of course, she's a soft city person now. He doesn't say it that way, but we know what he means. She says, don't you forget that I used to spend almost every day here with you? I haven't forgotten that much. She starts asking about Midnight, the horse that was in the photo, and he says, yeah, we sold Midnight some time ago. He lives on a ranch outside of town. Kate is disappointed to hear this. She goes, oh, I was really hoping I could see Midnight. And then Matt says, yeah, well, Mom wanted to sell him so she could, refurbish parts of the ranch. But we ended up keeping him for a lot longer than we were planning to, just in case you came back. But then you didn't, so then we sold Midnight. And it's like, that's all unnecessary. You sold him. That's the point. They head off to one of the horse pens, and he hands her a shovel so that she can start shoveling poop. She makes a big face. He gives her a hard time about the face. He says it must not be as much fun as the work that you do in the big city. She says, well, that's a different sort of shit shoveling. She meekly picks up one tiny little piece of poop, and he says, fine, I'll take care of it. So he picks it up, and he does the pile that's before them in one fell swoop. He sends her off to look around the ranch and just take everything in, and she accepts this because she's useless and rude. And she's the one that said she could do that stuff. She, just like breakfast, she said, I can do this. She doesn't. And now he pays the price of having to do it. She wanders around, she looks at horses, and then she returns to him in a different pen and says, you know what, I'd like to help you. What? She says she loves it in the pen, even if it's a little smelly. She loves the ranch. So she wants to help him do other things. And this is when we get a little bit more backstory about Matt, or at least his current Matt. We find out that he works there all by himself. Don't you ever need a day off, she asks. He counters, well, couldn't the same be said about you? Oh, good point. He suggests they go on a ride on horses. She's not sure, but he talks her into it. We're over halfway through this movie, and it feels like nothing has happened. He puts a helmet on her, and she smiles, and it's like that thing where are they going to kiss? No, they don't. They're not going to kiss. But it's like that thing where are they going to kiss? But they didn't. Within moments, the movie kind of edits itself. Well, it doesn't edit itself. Somebody edited it. But it cuts like as if they've been writing for quite a while, because they stop, and he's like, man, you handle yourself pretty good. I guess you haven't forgotten everything. He asks how her date with Hannah went the night before. Kate lies, obviously, and says it went well. He asks, well, how's Hannah doing? Kate says, well, she's pregnant, actually, and she's engaged to that guy. Yeah, oh my gosh. And he goes, anything else? Because lots of people could know that information. And he starts grilling her. Like, what kind of secret information can you tell me? How can you prove to me that you visited with Hannah? When she doesn't have a good answer, he accuses her of not going to see Hannah, of not having plans, and just avoiding wanting to spend time with him. And we find out that he knows this because he ran into Hannah the night before when she was out with her fiancé. Oh, man. Kate ignores the fact that he caught her in a lie, ignores the fact that her lie probably hurt his feelings. She ignores all of that and starts talking about how weird it is to have a contemporary like Hannah be pregnant and about to get married. That's so weird. And Matt's like, well, it's not that weird to me. And I don't know if he's saying it because he's been around for the last handful of years. He's seen these people grow into the adults that they are. Talk then turns, oh God, this starts getting really philosophical. He asks her if she's happy. What is happiness? He thinks happiness is just a collection of moments that, that is us doing something that we enjoy, whatever. He asks if she's happy. She asks if he's happy. It's a whole bunch of stuff here. It's just that's what this movie is, a whole bunch of stuff. She says that she is happy, and she mentions the different things that she does, like, what is it that she explains? Her job, her spin classes, and then he gets short with her and says, those are things that you have, not things that make you, that you're doing. And it's like, what are you talking about? He asks her again, what makes you happy? He doesn't yell it, but that's kind of how it felt. She accuses him of judging her, and he goes, well, you were judging Hannah, the unnamed friend from before, as if Hannah's too young to have a baby or to get married. This makes no sense to me. I don't know why he's taking this tact with her. They start bickering, and I get really tired watching this movie. And this scene just keeps going on and on. This is the scene that goes for 20 minutes, actually. It's not a specific scene, but it's this collection of scenes featuring them hanging out. It's one event. Eventually, still talking about happiness, he asks her why she would do things that would make her unhappy, like going to work, for example. Like, why would you do things that make you unhappy in order just to make yourself happy later on when you could just do the things that make you happy now? Whatever. It sounds like a child's philosophy, and Matt acts like a child, so that actually adds up. She doesn't want to talk about these things, so they just continue riding their horses. When it's over, they act like nothing weird has happened. She says, I'm glad we went for a ride. It was really nice. They combed the horses. This whole scene is never ending. We talk turns to how Matt helps out Kate's mom. She thanks him for that. She explains that it wasn't all her job that kept her away during her dad's sickness. She just didn't want to. There's a nice little zim motorcycle passing by. But it wasn't just her job that kept her away. It was her dad's sickness. It was not wanting to come face to face with how sick he was and that he might pass away. And those are among the reasons that actually kept her away. He does the wisdom thing of, you can't always wait for whatever. And it's unnecessary, man. Her dad is already dead. She talks about maybe visiting more often, which makes them both happy. She asks if he's ready for Christmas. He says his brother, we don't have a name for his brother, but his brother's coming with, actually we do, it's earlier in the movie, whatever, it's not important. His brother's coming over with his girlfriend, and he's going to be cooking for them, and this is mind-blowing to Kate. You can't cook? And he goes, I can cook. I can whip a real good feast now. She doesn't believe him. He says, well, why don't I make you dinner tomorrow? We find out tomorrow is Christmas Eve, but even though it's Christmas Eve and she's supposed to be spending time with her mom who lost her dad less than a year ago, she says, okay, I'll spend time with you on Christmas Eve. We cut to Kate still being at the ranch. Matt brings her coffee. They talk about riding horses. She shifts to talk to any potential girlfriends that Matt might have. He says he's single. He did have a partner for a while, but it didn't work out. She just wasn't the one. What about Kate? She's also single. She doesn't have time for men. We already know this. He keeps pushing that maybe the city isn't right for her to live in. He is really annoying. Kate notices how late it's gotten. She says, I can't believe how late it is. She needs to head back to spend some time with her mom. He puts his hand on her knee and says, your mom will understand, which is pretty fucked up, dude. You're the one that was just moments ago saying you can't, wait forever. You never know when something bad might happen. You can't just assume it'll be good all the time. And now you're saying your mom's going to understand if you want to stay and smooch for a bit. Kate says, I still need to go. So he offers to give her a ride home, which, yeah, I'd hope so, because you drove her to the ranch, buddy. How else is she going to get home? As he drops her off, they make plans for another ride the following day before dinner. He says he'll be there around noon. This is when I timed the whole thing. The date took 20 minutes of my life away forever. At home, she catches up her mom with things, and including her new Christmas Eve plans. Her mom is very pleased. The next morning, Kate awakens on her own as the sun rises outside. She is so happy. Downstairs, her mom gives her a cup of coffee. Kate takes a sip and goes, do you think I can have any cream with this? Oh my gosh, she's going back to her old self. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that what we all want to do? To regress, to go back to what we were, for no discernible reason, just because other people like it better. We find out that Kate's plan for the day is to check in on work, do a bit of work, and then head out with Matt for her Christmas Eve riding and dinner. We see her check in on her laptop. She does a whole bunch of no, oh no. Something has gone wrong with the Rosebud project, and she needs to do some work on it. In fact, she needs to head back to the city to do this work. Her mom's like, can't you do the work from here? No, I need files, and those files are in the city, in my office, next to that American flag. So she has to head back. She doesn't know when she's going to be back. Her mom is so very sad about all of this. Kate is also sad. She's very sorry. And she tells her mom, work has to come first. We see Kate loading up the car. She gives her mom a very sad goodbye hug. And then with that, Kate heads back to the city. We jump to her in her office, sitting in front of that American flag. She's on the phone with someone assuring them that she'll be in the office all day. We jump back to Mom's place where Matt shows up with flowers in hand. Mom has to break the news to him about Kate's departure and is surprised to find out that Kate didn't text him herself. She says, I could give you her address in the city for her apartment if you wanted to go visit her. Matt thinks that this is a bad idea, and it is a bad idea. But the mom goes, well, no one should be alone on Christmas Eve. And it's like, if you do this, you're going to be alone on Christmas Eve. We cut to Kate at her apartment. She seems tired after a long day of work. She calls Matt, but there's no answer. There's a knock at the door. It is Matt. Matt's there. Oh, wow. She asks, what are you doing here? He explains that her mom told him what happened. And that's when Kate realizes that she never let Matt know herself that she wasn't going to be available for their noon date. He says that's okay. While their plans didn't turn out like they wanted, he says, I'm here now. She smiles and lets him in her apartment. He's brought a bag of food with him. It's not food that's pre-made. He's still going to cook for her. He says, you're not going to get out of me cooking for you that easy. She asks how he got her address. And I'm like, how do you think? How do you think he got your address? Did he imagine it? Did he guess? Out of all the places in the city, Kate might live here? Or do you think the one person that you both know might have given it to him? We find out that he's planning to make salmon and potatoes. That's what he has in the bag. He also brought wine. In fact, he brought 2 bottles of wine, which seems like a lot for 2 people. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying it seems like a lot. She asked if he was planning on getting her drunk. He goes, no, Kate, I was planning on getting you merry. It is the holiday after all. And I don't know, man. Were you planning on getting me drunk? No, I was planning on getting you merry. That's a level below drunk, I guess. He sets about cooking while she sets about getting out of her work clothes and into something more comfortable. When she comes down, actually he gives her a glass of wine to take up with her while she gets changed, which I thought was that seems like a bit much. She could ask for one, She has the authority to determine whether she wants something to drink while she's getting changed. Upstairs, we see that she's taken a shower. She puts on a pretty dress because she wants to be pretty for him. She comes downstairs, and he's like, oh, wow, you look really nice. Or as he puts it, you look really great. He asks if she has any chairs because he has set the food out on this table. It's like a coffee table in front of her couch. And he goes, do you have any chairs? I haven't been able to find any. She thinks about it because she doesn't have any chairs, and then heads off and comes back with a couple of pillows that they can sit on either side of the table. And that's when I noticed how short it is. That's when I noticed it's like a little teeny coffee table. And I was thinking, what if she had chairs? They would have been hunched over this table so uncomfortably. I mean, the plan has to be to sit on the floor. What are we doing here? This is when she says, something smells delicious. Is that the salmon? And she said it as if she forgot that he was cooking. So they sit at the tiny table with their pillows. They clink glasses and they get down to eating. They each take a bite. She declares it's really good. There's clearly more to this cowboy than I thought. He says he's grown up and learned a few things. She apologizes for being so distant during her time in the city. She didn't know how he'd react. She's glad she came home, though. It reminded her how much she enjoys the countryside. He asks her if she could see herself moving back. She declares no. Her work keeps her busy, too busy. But she can see herself visiting more often. This makes the cowboy, Matt, sad. He's not really a cowboy. He's just a ranch hand. But I guess that's a cowboy. I don't know. Let's move on. It makes him sad. But he asks her to let him know when she comes back so that he can spend some more time with her. She says she will. We cut to post-dinner. He clears the little table away and asks if she'd like to open the second bottle of wine. She worries about him getting back home if they start another bottle. And he says, well, I took the train in, and the next one doesn't leave for an hour. So she's in. They open the bottle of wine. They toast to old friends. Talk turns to old times. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. There's not many, but this is one of them. Do you remember that lake we used to swim in? Kate asked Matt. Old Creek Lake? Yeah. Do you remember that lake? Wait, do you mean Old Creek Lake? Yeah, I remember Old Creek Lake. Could they not come up with any other word than creek? Old Creek Lake? You could call it Bottle Lake. You could call it Bird Lake. You could call it anything. Old Creek Lake. Here, my friends, when I heard this, I laughed so hard. I also looked up the definition of a creek. Did you know that a creek is like a small version of a river? Like a very small version of a river? So it's not even like a lake. It's not even like a different sized lake. A lake is apparently a lake. A creek is definitely like a creek. So why would they call this lake Old Creek Lake? Anyway, yeah, kids still swim there, we find out. Carefree and not a care in the world, which I think, did they say that? Hold on, did they? I think they must have said that, which is the same thing. Carefree, not a care in the world. Okay. Anyway, she says that's the same as us, but he says, nah, things are different. Kids these days don't do things just for the sake of doing them anymore. Kate's not so sure about the differences between these two generations. Kids don't do things just for the sake of doing them. Well, why do they do them? Why are they swimming at the swimming hole? Why are they at Old Creek Lake swimming if it's not for the sake of wanting to swim? There's also a joke in here about, plus the music they listen to. Oh my gosh. And it's intended as a funny joke about like older people saying this about younger people's music. But this gets to them talking about the band that they had formed that only lasted a few days because they couldn't agree on lyrics for any of the songs that they wrote. So they were basically just a cover band for the few days that they existed. Lots of giggling. He asks her if she still has her guitar. She does. He's surprised that she still has it. She brings it out. He's surprised she still has it. And she goes, well, you gave it to me for my birthday. I'm not going to get rid of it. And then he says, in his weird, uncertain southern drawl, considering your minimalist lifestyle, it wouldn't have made the cut. She tries playing the guitar. It's been a long time, and it's fine. He tries playing the guitar, and it's pretty good. I write in my notes, I'm tired of this movie. He sings a line, you're the one. I can't sing. I'm not going to try to sing. But then she joins in, and they say, you're the one, together. And then another line, you're the one for me. This may be a real song. I don't know. They sing for a while. It's about a minute long. And they say, you're the one, as I put in my notes, more than the years I've been alive. When they finish, she says, without a hint of irony, I forgot how good that song was. He says that the song meant a lot to him. He even put it on a mixtape he made for her. She remembers. Oh, right, that mixtape you made for me. She also remembers a poem that he wrote for her. It was wonderful until she found out it was all a lie. He says it wasn't a lie. I just wasn't sure if you felt the same way. I was zoning in and out of this movie because it was so unenjoyable for me that it was hard to pay attention to. But this part still confuses me. I have no idea what the lie with the poem was. At first I thought it maybe she thought the implication was here that she had cribbed it from something else. Like he didn't write the poem, he got it from someplace else. But then they start talking about how he was afraid to admit what he really thought because he wasn't sure if she felt the same way. So maybe the poem was like, you know, I'm so glad we're friends and only friends. Or maybe the poem was like, I love you as a romantic partner, but I don't want to say anything in case you don't love me. And she wasn't sure if that was true. I don't know. Eventually, they apologize to one another, and they come up with the solution of the explanation that simply they were just kids, which is true. She asks if things could be the same between them now, because when she's with him, it's like putting on an old coat, one that's worn, comfortable, and always keeps her warm. Everything in the city is so cold and distant. And he asks her, what are you trying to say? I don't know, I'm probably just being sentimental. More talk, they start to kiss, but then she pulls back. She thinks maybe she's had too much to drink. She heads off to bed and says that he can sleep on the sofa. She goes to get him pillows, probably the pillows they sat on, so they might smell like butt. She goes to get him pillows. When she comes back, it's a bit awkward between them. He tells her to sleep well. She leans in and gives them a kiss on the cheek and leaves. We cut to her sleeping. She wakes up. She checks on him. He's not on the couch. He's gone. She looks around and he is nowhere to be found. Eventually, and it feels like hours later, she picks up the hat that he's left behind, because it's one of the only things that was still on the sofa. The folded sheets, the pillows that might have smelled like butt, and the hat that he wore. So she picks up the hat and she notices, actually next to the hat there's a note. This probably wasn't hours later, it just felt like it. She notices a note, and the note says, "That will always be my favorite song, and you will always be my favorite person." What I noticed, what's notable about this note, is that he wrote the word favorite, with a U, which is very Canadian, but also European, England, you know? So I'm not sure where this movie was made. I still don't know. Maybe Canada. Do they have cars with steering wheels on the opposite side in Canada? I meant to do research. I did not. I don't want to spend more time on this movie. Just then, her phone rings. It's her mom. They catch up. Kate apologizes for missing Christmas morning, but adds that work is fine. I guess that's good. Congratulations, work is fine. She tells her she's not sure where Matt is, but that it was really nice to spend so much time with him. She doesn't know if anything will come of it. They say their goodbyes, and a befuddled Kate looks at the hat again. Now we see her putting the hat on and checking herself out in the mirror. She takes the hat off. She puts the hat on. She recites some stuff Matt said about happiness being a feeling. She gets an idea. And this is when she tries the hat on and off while she's looking at herself in the mirror. She decides to not go into the office today. With the hat on, she looks around her home and decides to pick up the guitar. She strums it for a bit and then smiles at the guitar. We fade to black. The movie's not over. We return to Kate, hat on, arriving at a house. Is this Matt's house? There are literally 2 minutes left in the movie. That includes the credits. She knocks on the door. Matt answers. It is his house. He's wearing a Christmas sweater. It made me laugh. He did not expect to see her. She says he forgot something. She puts the hat off of her head and onto his head, and says that he is her favorite person too. He gives her a kiss, he picks her up, he spins around, he puts her down, they head inside. The title of the movie goes on the screen. Unfortunately, it's not titled Cool Ranch Christmas. And then we get credits. And I studied those credits for any information about where this movie was made. I couldn't get anything. I wanted to say that the first date they went on at the ranch lasted 20 minutes. The second date at her apartment lasted 17 minutes. This movie lasts 1 hour and 33 minutes. That was 37 minutes of that movie were these 2 dates. It felt like they would never end. At least when you're switching between scenes, it makes the movie feel like it's going faster. This movie is inexplicable. It doesn't feel like it's a real movie. And I think that's all I have to say about it. But you know what? Let's reintroduce something we did last year and the year before and the year before. Let's talk about Christmas movie tropes. This isn't going to sound as good as it once did, but we're going to make do. Santa, bring it up.
Christmas movie tropes.
That's right. My buddy Santa's back from last year. I paid for these to get made. Well, 2 years ago. I paid for these to get made. We're going to keep using them. Santa, what's the first trope?
Did they act like Santa was real?
Buddy, they didn't even have Santa in this movie. Other than the co-worker mentioning Santa a few times in a very awkward way.
Was it magical?
This movie was not magical, either in the sense of I had a good time with it, nor in the sense that they actually had magical things happening in this movie.
Were there any dead parents?
Yes, there was in fact one dead parent in this movie. As is often the case in Christmas movies, we need a dead parent in order to understand the seriousness of our own lives.
Was there a time jump?
There was not, in fact, a time jump in this movie.
Was there a Christmas cruise?
I'm thinking of retiring this trope because there's never any Christmas cruises in these movies anymore. There was like 2 in the first 10 movies I watched, so I thought, Christmas cruises are going to show up a lot more than I thought. So, no, Santa, there wasn't a Christmas cruise.
Was there ice skating?
No ice skating either.
Did anyone build a website?
No, Santa, no one built a website.
What's the moral of this movie?
Excellent question. All Christmas movies should have a moral, right? They seem to, at least. So what's the moral of this motion picture? I think it's to never leave home, because the city is fraught with dangers, and it's terrible, and it will warp you so far away from yourself you won't even enjoy cream in your coffee.
Who is the MVP?
There is no MVP in this movie. I'm sorry. I could pick the coworker. I could pick the friend, Hannah. I can't, with good conscience, pick any MVP in this movie. I would. You know what? The MVP is the horse that they brushed when they were brushing a horse. That was the MVP because that horse did nothing to harm me, and it was barely on screen, so it didn't take up a lot of time. Thank you, horse. And with that, my friends, we are done with the first episode. Let's hope there's 59 more to come. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you can reach me on social media at JOEMOC. I'm also posting clips on Instagram where I'm kind of adding some audio, adding visuals from the movie to the audio from the podcast. It's been fun so far, and hopefully I can keep up with it to a certain degree throughout the rest of the season. That's about it. Again, find me online, JOEMOC. And with that, have a great day and enjoy some Jingle Bells.